Yes, cunt lords and motherfuckers. This is the United Forever podcast. I'm Sam Spanner. I'm with my legendary cousin,
Adam Shagham.
And we've also got a very special guest, lifelong mate, the most squeamish undertaker in the world, and it is David R, which stands for R as in rabies. How's it going, mate?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So in this so in this episode, we're going to be talking about retail banter. So something that we've got in common, apart from being absolute twats, is that we've all worked in retail. And to not reveal the true names of the establishments, we're just going to say that we all worked for Fresco's, which was the fictitious supermarket in Coronation Street.
So, yeah, that would do. Happy with that.
Sweet. Well, obviously, I think this is quite a perfect time to do one of our banter casts because obviously there's no Premier League football matches at the minute. And one of the highlights of last week was I managed to make Joe Smith cry on paddock. He obviously cried with laughter when I was sort of carrying on from the Premier League piss take episode from last week. When I did a super chat and I said that if you shave a fanny with a butter knife, you get a better Brazilian than Fred. So we all had a good old laugh with that. And then I've also got a shout out to one of our new subscribers. His name's, sorry, I don't want to fuck up your name, mate, but I believe it's Sufyan S. So found us through the Paddock Matchday banter videos. So cheers, matey. And also, I find it quite funny because John from the United Way had a bit of a chuckle over the Adam's foot banter. So I hope we didn't retch over the breakfast table.
Leprosy foot.
So apparently, Ed, just quickly tell us again what you just mentioned before. How is the foot situation right now?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not looking good.
No,
it's gone.
The initial
zombie foot.
The initial area is looking better, but for some unknown reason, my big toe's become infected for some reason. So it's all good.
Oh, nasty shit!
And I don't know why.
Okay, and then. In the last episode, we did plenty of Red Leicester cheesy puns. So some other shout-outs. So we got a funny pun from the Big Red Bus. Instead of Ben Chilwell, he said Baby Bell Chilwell. And we had a bit of a combo thing going on from Reach Sutherland and Diego Forlana saying Manuri tells Manchego, which was quite clever. Dave, mate, stop scratching your ass with the microphone.
I was scratching. Oh, sorry. That wasn't my ass. I was fiddling.
You're looking for some anal Klingons, mate. Fucking hell.
Chopping the
there
balls.
We go.
To the line.
Oh, no. And then we also had Gruyere Vardy instead of Jamie Vardy, which is quite funny. And United Steve 79 came up with an Egyptian feta-like cheese pun for Adi Akinbaye. He said, Achawi Akinbaye, which was nice and cheesy. And then the one and only Santa Notch, he said, instead of Islam Slimani, he said, Slahumi. Which,
Slahumi.
Mate, back me up on this. Apparently, it's quite a nice cheese, apparently, on the barbecue. So
halloumi is lovely.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on some of that stuff.
A bit of peronaise.
Halloumi, honestly, halloumi is It proper squeaks, doesn't it? For some reason.
Yeah, squeaky salty cheese, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck it up. So
Salty
it squeaks
balls.
like my ass.
Yeah. And it tastes, and it's salty
then-
like my balls. There we go.
Mate, I ain't trying that, and please never teabag me. All right, so instead
Don't
of
get drunk with me then.
instead of caliche, yeah, I know. Instead of caliche nacho, we got caliche higher nachos, which was
Double.
very clever. And then instead of Lee Philpott, he said Dairy Lee Carefully Pot, which is a nice Welsh cheese, I believe.
Yes.
So it's
Cheese connoisseurs.
that'll be a sort of a tangy and crumbly. Fucking hell, mate. It's fucking carefully belched there, mate. And then the one and only Texan legend Boomhauer enjoyed our last episode, and he was, I imagine, having a good old time puffing on a bit of Hobbit smoke and drinking cement draft, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he had a bit of reflection time to finally sort of, decide that it'd be, sensible for Double DG to return home. And obviously, we're very grateful for his service over the past few years. And jokingly, he said he was ready to sell a kidney to help fund a move for Haaland. But what we should do is fucking get our axes out and chop off the Glazers' balls and sell them on fucking eBay, mate. So,
yes, mate.
That'd be the way forward. Right, we've got some banter stories about retail. So we all used to work at Fresco's, so we don't want to get fucking reported to the authorities, after what we used to get up with. So David, you're the special guest. Please inform us with some banter.
Well, I used to work. Well, I've worked in retail. I don't anymore, but I did for like 10 years, if not more. Well, even more than that, I think actually.
That's right.
I used to work in a supermarket, and like you're right, like we had an aisle each, and you know your aisle, you know what stock you've got, and you'd always get people
I was provisions.
Oh, I was alcohol. It was the best alcohol I could hide in and just like, if I didn't want to do any work, just hide in the alcohol cupboard pretending I'm working. Quite nice.
Okay.
No, you like people would always ask you, "Have you got any of this at the back?" It's like, "Nah, mate, I've just put everything out. I ain't got it." "No, can you go and check?" "Oh yeah, whatever." So you go at the back there and just like have a chat, have a little dance, not even bother looking because you know it weren't there anyway. And then you come back out about the longer you waited, the more they appreciated you when you got back because they thought you were spent all that time looking.
Oh yeah.
So you get back after 5 minutes doing nothing, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, we haven't got any stock left." "Oh, thank you so much for looking." "No, that's all right." And then you just walk off.
Yes.
But yeah, honestly, like there's that tension marker of the longer you leave something, oh, they've been out there ages. Are they going to think? Then yeah, you go out there and they're really appreciative of the fact you just stand out there doing nothing.
Mate, I've got a follow-on sort of thing to mention, but I'll mention it later. That is very similar to what you just said. Now, Adam, let's pass the rhythm stick on to you and hit yourself in the balls.
Hit myself in the balls. Okay. I would say
What was that?
God can breathe. Adam just farted down the mic.
Animal.
Animal.
Animal. Yeah, no, I would say the most. Like, I always used to say, you never heard a stupid question until you've worked in retail, and then every other question is from the general public is fucking retarded. The best one would be whatever shop you work in, you would always get the question, "Where's your ice cubes?" Well, where the fuck do you think they are?
Wouldn't it? Mate, where's your cheese?
Like, well,
we don't tend to keep it in the shelf. It's usually in the fridge.
Where's your bread? Well, where do you think it is? In the car park.
What about with that big
The
sign
fucking-
on the ceiling that says bread? How about trying there?
Yeah.
Oh no. Where are your tea
Yeah.
bags? in your mouth, mate.
Oh, fucking bread and sugar were the worst.
Oh
And
dear.
eggs.
Like they walk in the door
Eggs.
and they're like, "Mate, where's your eggs?" You're like, "Mate, you've just walked in. At least have an attempt to look to try and find them before you come and harass me. I'm busy, you know."
Oh
Yeah.
fucking hell. Mate, I'm just gonna butt in and I'm gonna say to the listeners, right? Down in the comments below, we want to hear your stupid work stories. What any kind of shit you've been up to, let us know, all right? Because we love a good old bit of banter. So, guys, right, when I was in secondary school, obviously we all had to do work experience and whatnot. And I think Adam, you ended up in a garden centre or something. Well,
That's
I
correct.
was actually lazy as fuck at that time, and I was like, okay, what can I write down on the application form that will give me the easiest job possible? So I was like, shelf stacking. All right. So I wasn't very motivated back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting a job in. I said to Dave, we'll call the shop or the franchise WH Shite. So I ended up working there, and I was with two random lorry drivers because we had to go to it was about a 15-mile round trip to the central depot to load up the lorry and bring it back to the shop where I was stationed. And one of the lorry drivers, I swear, he was lower than the bottom of the IQ scale. He was just fucking dumb as anything. And the other bloke, right? He thought he was a bit of a player because he went around in his uniform. He had about 4 buttons undone, chest hair hanging out and stuff. Hair gel, you don't see that much nowadays. Fucking whole tub of hair gel. And
On his chest hair.
exactly. And then he was telling us this really fucked up story. He's like, "You never guess what, guys?" I was like, "What's this?" He's like, "I'm on the prowl now." I'm like, "Really?" Yeah. He's like, "I broke up with my bird the other week." But why? What happened? He says, "Well, I had planned to go round to my bird's parents' house for fish and chips for lunch. And at the time, my ankle was a bit sore, and I asked them if they didn't mind if I stayed at home or on the sofa for a bit. So the parents went down the road to get the fish and chips, and his bird was quite frisky. And she's like, "Do you know what? Should we do something really naughty? Why don't you do me up the bum?" And the reason why he said he broke up with her while they were experimenting and stuff, the parents came back early, and she literally he pulled out so quick that she sharted everywhere off the sofa of him.
And he was imagine?
It was
Like to get back
there was just political pressure.
The bitch
There was political pressure to literally break up with her. And then when we were in the depot, right, I swear we used to just piss about there, throw in boxes and stuff. And they had this obsession with, instead of doing bird hunting, looking through the windows and trying to spot hot chicks, they were obsessed with itchy bags. Now, if you think of what the fuck is an itchy bag, the other night I sent you guys an Amazon thing, right? I shared this sort of tartan kind of reusable shopping bag with a zip. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were looking out the window, and every time they saw one of those tartan shopping bags, they'd be jumping up and down and shouting, "Itchy bags! Itchy bags!"
What the fuck?
It's just so stupid. So basically, when I was at uni, quite a few of the students used to have these jumbo itchy bags, and they'd stick their dirty washing in it so they could lug it across campus to the laundry room. And I used to shout out the window at my flatmate Adam Knowles said, "Itchy bag," and he'd just say, "Sam, shut the fuck up." So itchy bag just pissing him off. I could see they was getting fucked off with me. Oh dear, dear. All right, and then I suppose because this is linked in with the work experience, there was one other thing that happened, right? So it was on the last day of my work experience in WH Shite, and I was in charge of sorting out all of the chocolates, like the chocolate bars and stuff.
Yeah.
So I tell you, if you ever work with chocolate bars and you're stacking the shelf, if you want to piss off your boss, all you've got to do is take the mint flavored arrows and just jumble them up around the other chocolate bars. Because what had happened is apparently contaminate the flavors of everything else. So everything just hummed of mint. So that didn't go down well. I got proper bollocks, but I didn't care. So what I did is I was like literally just kind of like in a jolly mood thinking, oh fuck, I finished work. So I went back into the storeroom thinking no one was there. I did a full-on 360 Michael Jackson thing, like a twirl, grabbed my balls, hand in the air, went, and then one of the lorry drivers was there, and he just looked at me like, what the fuck you doing? So, I was like, shit, I thought I was by myself. Sorry, guys. Anyway, Dave, you got the rhythm stick now.
I did something like that once, actually. We had a compactor where we used to put all the cardboard in. And I thought I was on my own in the warehouse, and I just was like, "That's a spicy meatball." And the area manager put his head around the corner. I was like, "What?" I didn't even know his name. I can't. Yeah. Anyway,
that was Jim Carrey, wasn't it, from The Mask?
Yeah. I love The Mask. It's my favourite film.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Talking of compactors,
I don't think he liked me. Well, it's not he didn't like me after that, but he always thought it was a bit odd after that, I think. Anyway, back to thingies. Just talking about shoplifters, really.
Yeah.
We had this one guy because I worked in a supermarket, and he walked out with a trolley full of stuff. Because you could walk past the main tills, and then you'd walk past a kiosk area. And some people would walk past the tills to pay at the kiosk. But this bloke, he just filled up his trolley, an old man, and just walked right out of the shop. And I think we had an intercom, and they were like, "Oh, some blokes walked out the shop." So there's me and these two older ladies chasing after him down the road.
Yeah.
I was like, "Excuse me, mate, have you got a receipt for that?" "No, I don't think so." "Come on." And then brought him back in the shop and got him arrested. He had loads in there. He literally had a full trolley and all. Cheeky bastard.
Fucking hell. Oh, dear.
Honestly.
And we had another. Sorry, carry on.
No, because after the previous anecdote, Adam was trying to I add something similar. I don't know if you remember, Adam, or is it just slipped off the tip of your tongue?
I was gonna say about compactors. Yeah, Dave, remember?
Oh yeah.
The supermarket I worked in. Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah. I know the one.
Well, they had a compactor as well.
Fresco.
And do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember Steve, the old assistant manager, the old guy? It was like 95.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, right. Well, basically, in the compactor, we used to get bored and we used to put loads of shit in there, like meat and everything, right? And he used to get well fucked off.
Because why would you do that?
Because he kept getting blocked, right? So he could actually climb in it. And me and the warehouse guy, for a laugh, we keep flicking the switch on and off to make it start up, and he used to shit himself.
Just try and casually murder your boss. It's all right.
Oh, fucking brilliant!
Old. It was all right.
I remember our one got jammed once, and my manager went in there and he couldn't get out because every time he put his foot down, he just kept it kept sinking in cardboard, like cardboard quicksand. Oh yeah.
Didn't he one time put his old? Didn't your old manager end up trying to put his TV in the compactor?
What the fuck?
No, I don't remember. To be fair, they
Yeah,
weren't there
I
like
remember.
10, 15 years ago now.
I swear. John told me a story once that he had to actually help your manager lift the TV out the back of his
Oh,
Pajero
maybe.
and put it in the compactor, and they crushed it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
Fuck.
I swear he
I thought it
said
was in
that.
cardboard, but
Hold,
maybe.
hold the phone. I've got something important to say. You've just said
Go
Pajero,
for it.
right? Now that,
Yeah,
written in Spanish, says
yeah,
pajero. Now, do you want to
right.
know what that means in Spanish?
Go on then.
Wanker.
Wanker?
Yeah.
Is it really? Brilliant.
So you're driving.
No.
I'm driving around in a wanker in the
My
wankmobile.
4x4 wanker. That was a 4x4, wasn't it? No?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
it
Yeah,
was. Oh, fucking
automatic.
Douchebag.
hell. Well, fuck. Right. So when I was on provisions in my Fresco days, um, every Friday we used to get like this fucking ginormous milk delivery. So we had all these milk trolleys that we had to like literally line up in a big team. And when we'd sort of pull it through this side door, then we had to go past the bakery bit and then through the back to these giant fridges, like these big rooms. And there was this one lad called Steve. He was this little short ass, but he was pretty
Steve.
safe. You know, he was a funny guy. And I'll tell you how he got his nickname. Basically, I don't know what the fuck happened, but one of those sort of twirly 360 wheels on the trolley just exploded. And then there was a fucking tsunami of cartons of milk, sort of like fucking 2 litre cartons, just went crash right over the floor.
Oh.
Fucking Steve in slow motion lost his balance, and I swear he slid 4 meters in a puddle of fucking milk.
Power
And
slide.
from then on, his nickname was Scuba Steve. So it was it was well warranted. Oh dear.
Brilliant.
Okay, I'm passing on the rhythm stick to who is it? Dave's turn.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Did you guys also have a problem with people shagging, like staff shagging in your stores?
No, but we had
Not that much.
fucking dirty bastard gents that were working on the fucking grocery section with the meat, with the fucking fruit and veg. That do fucking curry fart turds in the fucking bathrooms. Wouldn't wash their hands, and you'd see them 2 minutes later, fucking stacking up piles of bloody apples.
Oh.
So make sure you wash your fruit before you take a bite.
Have I told you two about King Turd?
King Turd
No.
Man,
You must have
yes.
heard about King Turd,
Yes.
surely. Adam must know.
Legend.
We had a
Yes.
guy, some bloke would come into my old supermarket and leave a turd so big it would poke out of the water. And it just, honestly, he must have come in like every morning just to block our toilet, I swear. And this one time in particular, one of my colleagues, he was known as a bit of a dirty bastard anyway.
Okay.
I was on a tannoy. I was like, he's not there. What was he? Mr. Smith to the cash office, please. Mr. Smith. Nothing. Mr. Smith to the cash office, please. Mr. Smith. And he eventually turns up. He's like, mate, I was trying to do a shit in the loo, but King Turd had been in there, so I had to do a shit on top of his turd. And then I was like, oh, okay, mate, fair enough. But yeah, so some poor bugger had to unblock King Turd and his present as well.
Fucking hell. That is rank, mate.
Honestly, it was disgusting. This bloke, he probably didn't use his own toilet because he didn't want to block it, so he thought he'd come into ours and block ours every day.
Nasty, mate. Oh, fucking hell.
Brilliant.
Adam, mate, your turn.
Yeah. Well, continuing on the arse front, when I was working in
The arse back.
my first ever, working in my first ever store, the night before I'd had a curry or a kebab, something like that, and my guts were going around that fucking cement mixer, right? So I walked off the shop floor. Walked off the shop floor, and I let this fart go from the halfway line, mate, and it absolutely resonated off the walls. And it smelt like dead rats. And then one of my colleagues come walking through, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "Yeah, sorry, yeah." I was like, "Yeah, sorry, the drains have gone. I'm waiting for the dino rod to come out." And she started dry heaving and had to go to the toilet.
That Mr. Smith I was telling you about earlier, he dropped one down one of the aisles, and some of the female staff come up to me and was like, "Dave, I think that one of the drains is blocked under the aisle." I was like, "There's no drains there. What are you on about?" And then later on, Mr. Smith was like, "Yeah, mate, that was me. I dropped a couple down the aisle before they come in." I was like, "Okay, fair enough."
Nasty, mate.
Have you seen that meme going around? They call me 007 at work. Have you seen that?
I'm not sure.
No.
You have to forward that to us, mate.
Yes.
What does it say?
Zero skill, 0 motivation, 7 poop breaks. But yeah, that sounds like some of the colleagues I work with.
Fucking hell.
Definitely.
Oh, mate. So I remember one time, because as I mentioned before, I was working on provisions, which was meat and dairy. One day we had this like sectional power cut, and you wouldn't believe the amount of shit we had to like literally dispose of.
Oh.
So instead of so it was like one whole Saturday morning just clearing the whole fridge section. And
waste.
When the bosses would often go for their break together, and because the other lot didn't really want to mingle with them because they were kind of cunts, So anyway, what we did is we all fucking opened packets of raw sausages, put them down our pants, and we're fucking walking around with fucking bangers hanging out.
Oh,
mate, the fridge section. I mean, I'm talking about the fridge storing was a fucking mess and a half. The amount of food we'd lobbed at each other was fucking controversial as. Oh dear.
Children starving in other countries, and you're throwing raw sausages at each other.
Oh no, totally, mate.
Sausage fest.
Fucking hell. So we had this cunt of a manager, right? His name was Mr. Manning, and he ended up, fortunately, after I was in Fresco's for about 3 months, and he got shifted onto somewhere else because he was being a proper cunt and a half to all the employees. Hold on, I've got a fart coming. Oh mate,
That's a twin.
Tag team. So yeah, so he randomly one afternoon, this was on a Friday evening actually, he just came up with a policy with like saying none of the young gents or teenagers can come to work with stubble. So fortunately at the time I had nothing but sort of like butt fluff on my face. But my mate Speds was he was about 7 foot and he must have weighed about 30 stone. He was a giant and a half. And obviously he was just full of testosterone and he had like shitloads of stubble. And he's like, "You're going to have to shave that off. If not, you're going home." And he's like, "Oh, I cannot, I need money, I need to pay for my car and shit and whatnot." So do you know what he shaved with in the end? Fucking Mr. Manning had ended up giving him one of those pink women's disposable razors.
Your Venus, and it was your fire.
Seriously. It had already been used by some other teenager, and Sped's face was fucking red raw. And the next day, mate, he came to work on Saturday morning with a fucking fanny rash on his face.
Oh,
Oh,
Extreme as fuck, mate. Oh,
bit of throwback.
right. Rhythm stick.
Ooh.
Dave, Adam.
Adam, you can go next.
Who's next?
You slag.
Yeah, me.
Slag.
Slag.
And I'm trying to think. I'm going. I'm improvising here. Hang on, Dave, you go because I'm trying to think of one.
You lost your marbles.
We had I went to after my supermarket. I went to a little shop, and
Okay.
we used to bake. When you work in a little shop, you basically do everything. You do the money, you do
Okay.
the bread. There's someone on the till, but other than that, you do everything. And
Yeah.
my old manager was like, to save time, he used to like half-ass cook the bread. Like you're supposed to do it for 10
Okay.
minutes, so he'd do it for 6, but like really high temperature. So it was like
All right.
burnt on the outside and raw on the inside.
Oh no.
And then when he left to go somewhere, we had a new manager that come in and wanted to do things properly. So he would do the
Yeah.
whole 10 minutes. So you go 5 minutes, then steam it for 5 minutes, and then all the customers started complaining because the bread wasn't as good as it used to be. Like that's what you did properly before. I was doing it properly now. You fucking nugget.
Fucking hell. The yokels,
honestly.
mate.
Everything, like the sausage rolls, had to be cooked for 25 minutes. So he was like, "Nah, mate, 20 minutes. Chuck the temperature to the max." But you can't do it like that. Nah, yeah, you can, mate. Yeah, he was terrible. He's such a bodge, he was.
So you get a bloke coming in. You know, I miss those E. Coli sausage rolls.
Yeah.
When can I have
I
them
wanted to
back?
take shits after I had them, but they were nice when I had them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It was the
I
praise
lost
of the
Much
five and a
better
half
poor.
than
stone
They
after
taste
eating that.
nice. Yeah.
fucking hell. Oh dear. Well,
Brilliant.
my last anecdote, right, is so on my last ever day. So this is before I said, fuck it, I'm leaving. I was asked to do some kind of training courses and stuff. So they wanted to they had plans for me on the long term, and I was like, do apologise, but I'm moving away from home now, and I'm going to uni. So that was the plan, and obviously I moved, just over the river from you boys.
Yeah, man.
And
Yep.
so on the very last afternoon, this fucking awkward woman came in, and she's like, "What the fuck was that?"
Oh, that's one of my, the door stopper thingies. I hit it with a foot.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So this awkward customer was like, "Have you seen this packet of mussels? They've obviously lost the vacuum inside the packaging, and that is a health hazard." And I was like, "Oh, look, this is terrible. I don't know how that managed to get on the shelf, or in the fridge. So if you don't mind, I'll go back into the storerooms and have a look if I can find you some more." She's like, "Oh, that is so courteous of you, so chivalrous." So I was like, "Yeah, no problems." And I looked at my watch. It was 1 minute past 5, and I thought, "Fuck it." So I walked through the sort of double sliding doors into the back, took my name badge off, lobbed it in the bin, walked out the shop, walked round the back, past the windows, and I just waved at her. And I carried on walking.
You horrible bastard.
I should have done a Frank Gallagher and stuck my middle fingers up her. Fucking hell.
Oh,
Funny.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Dear, oh dear. Fucking hormones, mate. They just send you fucking round the bend.
We had
Dear,
this.
oh dear.
We had this. I think every shop you work in has got a guy called Steve as a bit of a nugget.
Yeah.
I think we
Limpy
had
Steve.
this one bloke, and Limpy Steve, and he this customer's like, "Excuse me, I think this packet of biscuits is out of date." You're like thinking about your muscles thing, and literally this packet beaten up. It looked like it'd been kicked around the warehouse for a whole year. I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, actually, the date's like 2 years out of date. I'm really sorry about that. And I put it out the back. It's like, Steve, did you put this out? Oh, yeah, I found it under the shelving. Did you not look at it? It looks like someone's played football with it, Steve. Oh, sorry, mate. For goodness sake. What's wrong with you?
What?
Must
Oh
have
my
been
god!
related to Scuba
Wobbly
Steve.
Steve.
Oh, mate, that's about the name Steve, I think.
Oh, brilliant, mate. So I'm
Fucking
spent now
legend he was.
on anecdotes. I don't know. I don't know if Adam's got anything else to say before we talk about one of David's updated stories from his undertaking sessions.
I've got one more. When I worked in the supermarket, as an assistant manager, like we had a lot
Check
of
me out.
student working, right?
Look at me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I'd say 95% of them were kind of retarded of some level, just because they were just
Okay.
obviously off their face on something. And one Sunday morning, I said to this
Yeah.
lad, I was like, "Can you go and get the broom and go and sweep up all the leaves outside the front doors?" Because they kept blowing in the store.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh, what?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, if I have to." So, he turned up at 9 a.m. We didn't open till 10, and he was gone about
Yeah.
half an hour. And I'm thinking, where the fuck has he got to, the daft prick? And and basically we had two double doors and then a foyer, right? And
Yeah.
I had a look at the cameras trying to find where he was, and he was in the foyer, just randomly sweeping the mat. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So over the tannoy, I called him. I called his name. I was like, "What you doing?" I said, "Sweep up the leaves." And then he like looked up at the camera, and then he obviously twigged because he looked outside and saw all the leaves, and he's like, you could see like the life just like drain out of him. He's like, "Oh fuck, I've been doing it
Oh,
wrong." He'd
no.
spent half an hour sweeping an area that didn't need sweeping. I was like, "You daft prick."
Schizo. Oh, that's brilliant. So, Dave, mate, so obviously you're an undertaker, and we've on numerous occasions made reference to your delicate stomach. You're quite
Yes.
you're very queasy. So please enlighten us with one of your up-to-date events that have happened in your line of work.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to mention any names or any places, so I can't like get traced back to
No, no,
anyone,
no.
obviously. But
Yeah, of course, that's understandable.
the other night, there was me and my colleague went out to this house. There's a
Yeah,
flat, but it was a ground floor flat, and they said, oh, on the report, they said it's a larger woman, which that can mean anything, that can mean there's someone the size of me or plus. And so
yeah,
we get there, and this woman is huge. Like one of her legs was like the size of my colleague. Not even joking.
okay.
And unfortunately, the poor lady had she passed away on the loo
Oh,
Oh
as
dear.
well. And
yeah,
yeah, me and my colleague, and everything was really tight and narrow. And me and my colleague were just like, where the fuck do we even start? Like, what? I can't. It was just like a joke. So we rang for backup, and no one answered. I rang about 4 times, and no one answered.
yeah,
And then I rang my other boss because he weren't on call, but I thought he'd help us out. And he got another guy to
yeah.
come out with us, luckily. So about
Okay.
we got there at like, I don't know, 7. This other guy turns up at 8 because he's always fucking late anyway. He's almost worse than Adam for a timekeeper. And so yeah, so he turns up. So he
Yeah,
turns up eventually in his own clothes. So we put him in a
yeah,
full body, like a spacesuit, a full body spacesuit.
Yeah.
which turns out, luckily, he needed really, which was handy. So we went in the loo and we put in some sheets underneath her. And unfortunately, when you pass away, you tend to, stomach acid tends to come up from your mouth and your nose. And it looks like you're kind of being a bit sick. Not all the time, but sometimes. And, well, it was literally like a river coming out. And it's not the nicest smelling thing. It literally honks as well. So my colleagues, we're trying to get the sheet underneath her, and my colleague's like, and there's me starting going as well. And then right, we thought, everything was ready. We thought, right, unfortunately, this acid's going to come out whatever we do. So we thought, okay, let's just go for it. And as we pulled her off the loo onto the floor, it literally come out like a waterfall everywhere. And it literally covered my colleague all over his clothes. Well, luckily it was on the spacesuit. All over his spacesuit, all over his shoes. He had no covers on. And he's just like this. And I'm just absolutely dying because I'm in the middle. And oh my God, because obviously the family were nearby. I was just nearly falling over, silent laughing. And I pulled a muscle in my stomach, laughing so hard. And I just, I'll tell you what, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just literally, he was covered in brown rain. It was just, it was the worst.
Cry me a river.
And
fucking Justin Timberlake.
And so and all day it was like, brown rain, we kept singing to him. And so we got, but luckily after that, we got the lady out of the house, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And the copper's like, oh mate, I don't know how I'm going to tell the family that they need to clean up now because of the smell. I was like, oh, don't worry, mate, I'll sort it out. So I was like, I'm really sorry, but everything's sorted now, but there's a bit of an aroma in the room. You might need to, just, I don't know, put about a whole litre worth of bleach around the loo, really. And and then we left, and it was just, one of the funniest ones. It was funny in that respect, not for the poor lady, but we cleaned up nicely in the hospital, so it was fine. But, it was just the worst. I'm so glad he had his full suit on. If I was the end, I would have just, all my clothes, I would have covered in brown rain. And I'd have had to spend the rest of my shift until I got home covered in puke. Well, basically, it looked like she had vegetable soup. It was just or oxtail soup. Maybe. It was minging.
Put it this way, Dave. Someone's got to do it, and respect to you, mate, for doing that line of work. You know,
yes, mate.
But
definitely,
I hate my job sometimes. Disgusting.
Oh dear. Talking about police, right? So, my fucking brother, right? So today, I think you guys in the UK have been allowed to sort of meet up in groups of 6 outdoors. Well, my younger brother, being a fucking rebel as he is, that's right. So this was on Sunday, I believe. Sick burp. Vegetable soup. So my brother was being a rebel. He's like, I'm going to go around my mate's house and have a few cans of beer in his garden and stuff with him. Obviously maintaining a social distance. Well, after they'd finished the drinks, my brother went home. Fucking 2 minutes later, right? Fucking riot vans came bombing it down to his mate's house, banging on the doors, and his mate's there in his pajamas, can I help you? So, where's this party? And so what party? Well, your neighbours just denounced you for having a garden party. It's like, what the fuck? I'm here in my pajamas, and I'm here with my fucking cat Tibbs. I can't see a fucking party.
And I'm a 30-year-old man.
Exactly. Oh dear. Mate, if I was the policeman, I would have fucking been knocking on all the doors of the neighbours saying, well, is this some kind of hoax, wasting police time?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we've hit the 44-minute mark, and I'm going to repeat what I've said to the listeners before. Please, in the comments below, we want to hear your banter work stories. Anything stupid, anything daft. You know that we are beyond immature, and we love any sort of banter shit like that. So give it to us.
The customer is
So-
never right as well. Any
Oh,
of
I
those
know.
stories
Definitely.
would be cool.
Unless I'm
Fucking
the
hell.
And
customer.
some Karen
Brilliant.
stories would be funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up. You got any final words, Dave?
Just keep on living the dream and don't meet up in groups of 7 or more, or you get the coppers come round and think we're having a pajama party.
Exactly. Ad, mate, your final words?
Well, I'm no longer eating oxtail soup, and it's over and out from me.
I wouldn't, mate. It stinks.
Now you're eating just tail soup.
Oh.
Ugh.
Over and out from me. Speak to you later, you chronic masturbators.
TTFN.
Oh.
Ta-ta for now.
Go and find the fucking stop button.